In this video, we are talking about what are tariffs, how they affect you and your pocket, and how you can prepare for, when the tariffs do in fact kick in. As you know, we've been playing tag your it when it comes to the tariffs. Like, it's on today, off tomorrow, on today, off tomorrow. But, we thank God for where we are. First things first, what is a tariff? A tariff is basically a government-imposed tax on imported goods and services, okay? In its simplest terms, think of it as another GST, okay, which is a goods and service tax that governments charge on products that are coming into the country, okay? So how does it affect you and your pockets? Number one, it increases prices. So what does this mean? Producers and business owners, instead of paying that tax themselves, they're just going to transfer it to the consumers for the most part. Meaning, for example, let's say I'm a maker of bread, okay? The flour I usually use for my bread is coming in from the US. Right now, it costs me 25 cents. Because of tariffs, it's now going to cost me 50 cents. So rather than absorb that cost, because, for example, my profit margin is not enough to cover that cost, I'm instead going to increase the price of the bread I'm selling by 25 cents, okay? So that's how it increases prices. Number two, it causes limited availability. So for example, let's say I'm an importer. I import, again, bread. I import a particular type of bread. The bread costs me $5 to import, but now it's going to cost me $10, okay? Rather than import that particular bread, I may just decide not to bring in that bread anymore. So you, that you're a consumer, that you really like that bread and you've always liked it, all of a sudden you'll find you can't find that bread on the shelf anymore. That's because importers are choosing not to bring it in because it's just not worth it. Number three, economic instability. Now, for example, imagine you're an importer, okay? And because of tariffs, you've increased your prices like I mentioned earlier, okay? And now, you've also decided not to bring in some goods because it's just not worth it. In addition to all that, your investors, because of, uncertainty, they are choosing not to give you any extra money, or even the money they've given you before, they are now taking it back. As a business owner, your revenues and your finances has been affected on 3 different fronts right now, okay, based on the example I'm giving. Obviously, you're going to have to figure something out. If not, you're not going to be able to stay in business any longer. Hence, the economic instability. A business owner in that regard, chances are what they're going to do is find ways to reduce their expenses, which usually involves laying people off, okay? So usually when tariffs and co come in, the results is usually economic instability that causes employers and investors to pull out, okay? So as much as possible, you want to make sure that you understand these things. So when you start seeing them happening in the economy, you're not scared and you're not, taken aback. Remember, I say it on this channel all the time. What happens in your house is more important than what happens in the White House, on Parliament Hill, in any governmental house across the world, okay? You are in control of your own house and your own house only to a large extent, okay? So now, how should we prepare for tariffs? So if I were you, and this is how I'm preparing and this is how I'm encouraging you to prepare. Number one, tighten your belts. It just is what it is. In times of uncertainty, it's always better to hold on to as much of your resources as possible and limit spending, okay? So make sure your budget is nice and tight, okay? When things are a little more relaxed, sure, you can start spending anyhow again, but for now, keep things simple, keep things streamlined, keep things trim the fat, remove anything that's not necessary from your budget, okay? Number two, pray that God will give our leaders insight, wisdom, foresight, so that they will make quality decisions, okay? And because these quality decisions affect things around us, and you want to pray that they make quality decisions that will affect positively the well-being of we, their citizens, okay? So if you're someone who prays, make sure you include this in your prayers. Number three, plan major purchases, okay? Anticipate price increases. For example, if you're going to buy a car that's made in China, and all of a sudden, the government has decided they are putting a 40% tariff on parts that are coming in from China. Know and understand that operating that car and maintaining that car is going to cost you more money than, say, buying a car that is Canadian made or even US made, okay? This is just an example, so don't get carried away. So what I'm trying to say is plan your major purchases. So any big items, any large items, if you're a business owner, you have equipment you need to buy, make sure you start buying them either now before the tariffs kick in, as much as possible possible factor price increases into your maintenance and co. Number 4, change and adjust your preferred product choice. So let's say you like a particular brand of cereal. All of a sudden, you're starting to notice the price has gone up or it's no longer on the shelf. It might be time to start trying other brands so you can like something else, because chances are even the seller of that product might decide they no longer want to ship here because it's just not worth it for them. Okay, so again, you will need to adjust your product choices and your product preferences. Number 5, overall, don't be scared, and don't allow fear rule your decision making. Don't say, because tariffs are coming in, I have to go and quickly buy a car, even though you were not planning on buying a car before. Okay, don't say, because tariffs are kicking in, I'm going to go and stock up on XYZ and 1, 2, 3. Especially if you don't need it. Okay, let's not get carried away. Okay, and then last but not least, number 6, remember that what happens in your house is way more important than what happens in the White House or on Parliament Hill or in any government house in the world. So make sure you and your family are getting yourselves, well prepared for the future. Tariffs or no tariffs, you should be checking your budget. You should be tracking your expenses. You should be getting things like life insurance in place. You should be making sure that you're investing for the future. You should be making sure you're planning for, education and all these other things, okay? Tariff or no tariff. But more than anything, you should make sure you are thriving and surviving well, okay? Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.